Hey, Jim Jordan here. Our last video, we talked about setting income goals, and we kind of drilled down into the specifics of setting goals for yourself from an income perspective. Subject of this video now is expenses. Every business has expenses, and so we need to budget for those expenses and kind of determine ahead of time what we're going to have in the way of expenses. Keep in mind that you cannot save your way to success. So there's always a tendency to want to minimize expenses, and the best thing to do is maximize revenue. The more revenue that you have, the more forgiving expenses become. So maximize your revenue rather than trying to save your way to success by not having any business expenses. First of all, let's take a look at some of the expenses that every realtor is going to have no matter what, and those are your real estate dues. You're going to have your dues to the National Association of Realtors, your Indiana Association of Realtors, and of course your local board here in Indy. That's my board. And so you have your MyBoard dues, and you're going to pay those on an annual or semi-annual basis. You're also going to have some technology fees that go along with that, some subscription fees to maybe the showing service, whatever fees that you might have. But these are real estate dues that you're going to have to pay, license renewal, continuing education. You could lump that in with real estate dues. That's something that you have to have on an annual basis, and so you could budget for that in your real estate dues because they're not optional. You have to do those things in order to practice real estate. Advertising. How are you gonna promote yourself, and how are you gonna promote your business? Are you gonna run ads in publications or on media? Maybe you're going to do ads on social media, LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram. So you need to take a look at what you plan to spend on advertising and budget that in advance. Good rule of thumb here is to spend about 1% of your revenue on advertising. That's a good kind of rule of thumb as far as an amount to spend. Then you've got your auto expenses. It's expensive to drive an automobile. There's two ways to do your auto expenses. One is that you can take actual expenses. In other words, you can take the value of the car and you can depreciate it. You can take or a lease payment as an expense item, and then your actual gas expense and oil changes and maintenance and things of that sort. Or you can take the mileage deduction. The IRS mileage deduction is pretty generous, and it's actually fairly difficult to beat that mileage deduction with your own expenses. So you may want to take the easy way and do mileage deduction. However, the IRS will require you to have substantiation of the miles that you drove. In other words, written documentation to support the miles you drove. Now, I'm not an accountant, and I'm not trying to be a CPA for you. So for any financial advice, you need to talk to your accountant, your CPA, or your tax advisor. There's a great app out. It's called Mile IQ or Mileage IQ, I think something like that. At any rate, it's an app that you install on your phone, and then it tracks your mileage for you. And then on a daily or weekly or monthly basis, you can go back and you can classify that mileage. And so it will show you for each trip that you take how many miles you drove, and then you can classify that as personal miles or commuting miles or business miles. Again, seek the advice of a tax professional or a accounting professional in terms of what items are going to be deductible in terms of your automobile. Next thing, a big category is technology. That's become more and more important in real estate. So your telephone, for instance, your cell phone, that's an important piece of technology that you use, and so you want to budget for that. Maybe it's time to replace that worn out smartphone with a new smartphone. Maybe you've been having troubles with it, and so you want to make sure that you have the best technology available. Computer. Generally, you're going to want a laptop or some sort of a iPad or notebook type of computer. So there's lots of different options out there in terms of the kinds of computers that are available and the kind of technology that's available. You want to take a look at what would work best for you in your particular business, and make sure that you have updated computer. And by the way, when you're looking at your computer or your phone, don't forget to have virus protection. That's very important nowadays. There's lots of people out there trying to do harm to your business, and so you want to make sure you have adequate security. Also, as part of this, you want to make sure you have backups of your data. And so make sure that you have a method of backing up your laptop or method of backing up your phone, so that you make sure that you don't lose data if something happens. And of course, you've got expenses for the internet, for website, email, and things of that sort. Now, if you're a Realty World Indy agent, we supply you with what we call the Tech Pack. And the Tech Pack includes a full-featured website that you can put together, and that's included as part of the Tech Pack. And so you don't have to worry about a website if you're a Realty World Indy agent, because we include that for you as part of your being part of our team, being part of our company. Then we want to look at postage. If you're going to do any mailing, it's going to require postage, whether it's postcards, newsletters, whatever you might be sending out. You want to have a budget for your postage. Now, a lot of times there are mailing services out there that will do the mailing for you, and they will take care of the postage as part of the fee that they charge for those mailings. So you can go that route in terms of postage. There's also a service available through the United States Postal Service called Every Door Direct, and it's a way for you to deliver a mailing piece to every door in a particular area. Contact the post office for details on that, but it's a great tool that you could use, for instance, for farming a particular area or a particular part of town. And you can deliver a mailing piece to every door in that neighborhood without having to address it individually, or the post office will do that. And it's generally by postal route is how that's generally set up. So that is an option as well. So you would consider that postage, even though they're not charging you actually for stamping it. They're going to deliver it. The postal service will deliver it. You need to look at your budget for printing. During the course of a year, if you have any listings, you're going to need to print flyers for those listings. If you use literature boxes at the street or take one boxes, then you need to fill those with color flyers, and so you're going to have some printing cost involved, whether you use your own printer. Ink is not inexpensive for those printers. So you need to budget for ink, or you need to budget for printing if you're going to use an outside service to do your printing for you. Then you want to budget for that based on what kind of printing that you think that you'll be doing for the year. Also, promo materials. These are things that you might hand out that have your name and logo on them. It could be what's referred to as advertising specialties, things that you hand out to your clients or to your friends or the people you meet, just so that it will jog their memory. And there are tons of little ad specialties out there that people use and that they hand out. So you want to budget for those things. Also, wearables. A great way to market your business is to wear a shirt or a jacket or hat or whatever with your name, with your logo on it, your company logo. And that's a great way to promote your business and for people to know what business you're in. A lot of times they'll see your logo on your shirt, and then they'll ask about real estate. They may have a real estate question, or they may even be thinking about buying or selling real estate themselves. Also, closing gifts. It's debatable whether or not it's a good idea to give closing gifts. Some real estate agents don't give closing gifts. Some do. And it just depends on what you would like to do for your real estate business. But if you are going to give closing gifts, then you need to budget that. So if you're going to have 53 sales next year, then you need to budget for 53 closing gifts to support those 53 sales. So that's one of the things that you would want to put in your expense budget. And then finally, there's marketing expense. And marketing are things that you're doing to keep in touch with your sphere of influence and to build your sphere of influence. It might be newsletters. Now, there is a part of the Realty World Tech Pack that is called Imprev, and Imprev has a great e-newsletter that can be sent out for free. It's included in your Imprev subscription, and it's automated. So every month, an email will go out to your email database with a newsletter. That newsletter could also be printed. We also have another service with the Insider where you can do a newsletter and you can print those out and send them out by mail. You might want to do a combination of both because not everyone will receive your email, and sometimes they will unsubscribe to your email even. But you can always reach them by mail. So it's always a good idea to have a print newsletter along with a online newsletter or email newsletter. So you want to take a look at that. Postcards, great way to farm a neighborhood, great way to stay in touch with your sphere of influence. They're very inexpensive to send out, and typically they at least glance at them before they throw them away. And so if you send out, let's say, 12 postcards a year, that's 12 times that they're going to see your name and your information, which will remind them of what business you're in. And so that can be a great way of marketing your business. And there are just all kinds of other ideas. If you're a Realty World Indy agent, you can go to the Insider, and there's a whole list of marketing ideas in the Insider. And so what you might want to do, take a look through that list and then decide, okay, what items am I going to use this year to reach out to my sphere of influence? And a lot of the things that you select in terms of advertising and in terms of marketing and even closing gifts and promo materials is going to depend on what your mix is of business. So if you remember our previous video where we talked about income generation, we also talked about what percentage of your business do you plan to come from listings versus buyers. And there's going to be different expenses and different kind of marketing to reach out to listings versus buyers. So you want to make sure that you budget according to the income goals that you've set up. Hopefully this is helpful to you in planning your expenses for the coming year. And I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. And I hope you have an awesome day today.